Once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm really delighted once again to introduce our committees to this particular gathering. Normally, we will be in Geneva, but with COVID-19, we thought we should use this opportunity to engage our stakeholders all over the world. So this is a session that we plan from 11:30 Central European Time to 1 o'clock, and we're really going to cover the Best Business Practice Forum. At this point, my name is Nelson Ogunshakin, for those who doesn't know who I am, which I found very difficult, but you never know, because this is actually open up to everybody around the world. My intention today really is to engage in a conversation approach with our committees with a view that we can understand how they see the world in the current challenge, and to discuss how we're going to respond to the challenge as an industry. So without further ado, I'm going to go to the next slide, really, which is an opportunity for me to bring you up to date. For those who've been following FIDIC over the last 12 months, you would have seen a lot of changes, positive change, I hope. Not only have we reviewed a new strategic plan, but we continue to work under this difficult COVID-19. I'm pleased that we are rebuilding our credentialing. We've dealt with a lot of issues over the last 12 months, particularly on the issue of COVID-19, where we organized 18 webinars, including 3 webinars by our future leaders, which have been very, very successful. Today, we're going to see a lot of people from our industry, particularly the chairs and the vice chairs of our committees, which we relaunch and refresh, and we've challenged them with new things. So they'll be talking to us about some of their thinking, looking forward into the future. We are looking to republish our State of the World. We've just published our annual report, and this is available. If you haven't got a copy, please go and have a look on our website. We are doing the best we can against circumstances to improve our online delivery, and we are going to experiment over the next few days, tomorrow and Monday, on a new online conference. If you haven't registered, please take your time to register. We're launching new contracts, and you hear again from our contract committee. But more important, we're stabilizing the FIDIC operation at the headquarters. For me, I think the biggest challenge for us is putting a new operation structure. And more important, our board are working in the way that we want them to work. And I'm sure you have the opportunity to listen to our president, where he will update you on some of the changes within the board. Critical for us is a lot of our agreements being signed with the banks. And I'm really pleased that not only have we made some real progress there, but we've actually launched new committee which is looking at the bank, and you speak or hear from the chairs of the various speakers in a minute. Among all the stuff that we've delivered, the COVID-19, the strategic plan, the new credentialing, new website, CEO update, we are improving our communication. I hope that you continue to update us on where we need to make further improvement in future. Next. If you go forward into that area, I'm pleased at this point to introduce you to our president, Bill Howard, who once again has been very kind to wake up very early, United States, in Boston, to join us. So Bill, the floor is yours, including some of our board members. Bill, you want to say a few words?
Thank you very much, Nelson. And I know the main part of this session will be to hear from the chairs and vice chairs of our various committees. So I do not want to take very much time. Yesterday, we had a series of meetings, and where Nelson and I and other members of the board presented to the DNS Council and the past president some of the highlights and efforts that we've put forth over the past year or so. And I don't think it's necessary or worthwhile to go through all of those today. But one of the things that I did mention, consistent with what I mentioned back in Mexico City in September, is how important it is to FIDIC that we strengthen our committees in a variety of ways, getting terms of reference consistent and synchronized with our strategic plan, getting more people involved with committees from a diversity and inclusion standpoint, and maybe forming a new one or two, which we have and will. So there's a lot going on with the committees, and I think many of us would agree that that the committees are extraordinarily important to the health of FIDIC, and we think we're heading off in the right direction. There's a lot more going on for sure, but I just thought maybe I'd just highlight what we're doing with committees and how excited we are to work with all of you. The final thing I'd say about committees, and I mentioned this to the past presidents yesterday, is in restructuring and restaffing our committees, we had over 300 applications. And I think that is just, that sends a terrific message for the future of FIDIC, that we have so many top-notch people from around the world wanting to join us in pursuing our challenges. And rest assured that those who are not on committees now will be sought out to work on task groups and maybe staff future committees. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Nelson.
Sorry, Nelson, we can't hear.
Nelson?
Okay, can you hear me now, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not sure. We're trying a new technology. I'm awfully sorry about this. We thought we perfected it. So I'm going to make a move. Bill, thank you very much for that introduction. We did a good job.
Hey, Nelson, could I just interrupt and say, Nelson and I have been talking about using Zoom successfully, and I think we've done it 25 or 30 times, and this is the very first time we've had a little bit of a glitch. So at any rate, hopefully that's the last.
Bill, thank you very much for bailing me out on that. We thought we perfected this, and again, it just shows that there's no room for complacency. I'm really pleased that Bill's able to join us once again. But for those who are not aware of the structure of FIDIC, what you find is you have our board member, which is on top of the screen, and I'm really pleased that we've got most of them, if not all of them, here joining. We have our regional group, and each of our board members are responsible for operational oversight, for governance, for nominations, and for audit. But more important, the delegation that we have there, which really the chairs of the various committees from best business practice, capacity building, contract, integrity management, membership, risk and liability, future leaders, sustainability group, diversity and inclusion, and more important, the new kid on the block, international financial institution. Above that, you see the board members who are liaison, are being corrected. They are not chair, they are liaison person within the board to support. But without spending too much time on that, I would like to go to the next slide. What we plan to do during this session is really to give the FIDIC committee and the chairs, particularly, opportunity for them to discuss those issues and the strategic objectives which we've been asked for them to deliver, particularly on how infrastructure industry is going to be impacted over the coming 12 months. So we've got an exciting 1 hour time to come. The plan is that over the next 1 hour, we'll engage in a number of conversations. After that, we have half an hour session where we have the opportunity to pick up questions from the floor to the panelists, and then we do our best to move forward. So without further ado, I'm going to move on to the main theme of the question. We have 5 themes that we really want to cover over the next 1 hour. One is how the market is challenging the consulting industry. Second is about how our MA, member association, are responding to the issue. And the third one really is FIDIC response to address the challenges. And then over and above that, we can think about globally, how do we address local issue? And then we touch on the priorities for 2020, 2021. So looking through the first item we have, I'm inclined to start in the alphabetical order. And I know that, I know the candidate is full ready. Perhaps, if we have the screen, I would like to bring in what I call Andrew from New Zealand, which is best business practice. Andrew, what do you consider to be the major challenges facing our industry? And I'm just seeking 1 or 2 sentences from you, because the same question will be applying to other committees. And I'm asking the committees to answer the question from their perspective rather than the obvious issue. So Andrew.
Thank you, Nelson. And probably one of the key things, thank you for showing the vagaries of technology and how that it impacts on the work that we do. And that's probably one of the key challenges that we need to understand, is this world that we're going to live in for the next year, 2 or 5 years will be different from the one that we've had for many years in the past. So how will the way that we work from a business practice perspective change, and how will it in particular affect our interactions with our staff, our clients and our fellow professionals, particularly as there is a lot more of a focus on remote working, flexible working, whether it be by choice or being enforced. So flexible working and the opportunities and challenges that it brings, well-being and mental health of ourselves, our people, and even our clients. We will be looked to in these times for trusted advice in many areas. We as a committee will look to see some of the things that have worked well in this recent period and look at the things that we can improve on moving forward. So that's a very short and high level comment, Nelson.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I suspect I'll probably go random now. I'm going to go across. Husni, you're looking at it from contract. What are your thoughts?
Thank you, Nelson. I'm the Vice Chair of the Contracts Committee. Unfortunately, our Chair, Vincent Leloup, could not attend, so I convey his regards to you all. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace upon you all in these difficult times. Our biggest challenge now is how to deal with COVID-19 and its repercussions on contracts, whether works contracts for construction or engineering agreements for consultancy works. Now, how to deal with contracts and agreements that have already been entered into pre-COVID-19 and those new contracts and agreements to be entered post-COVID-19. So I think this is the biggest challenge, in addition to incorporating technology now on how projects are delivered. Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you very much, Husni. Can I bring Michelle in from Diversity and Inclusion? Michelle, what do you see as a big issue for us as an industry?
Thank you, Nelson. So obviously before COVID-19, diversity and inclusion was already a problem. And as many of you might know, COVID-19 has exacerbated the problem. What we want to do as a committee is to have clear communication to all stakeholders about the benefits of diversity and inclusion, most of all the increased revenue and improved cash flow that it can bring to companies, and obviously a diverse opinion, opening up markets for your companies. Thanks, Nelson.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I suspect that I'll probably go across into, I think if I've got it right now, I'm going to say it, Nicola, on the issue of risk and liability.
Thanks very much, Nelson, and hello, everybody. So market challenges in the consulting engineering industry, I think the name of our committee probably says it all. Risk, liability and quality, those continue to be market challenges for all of us. I'd like to call out one in particular though, which is highlighted in the purpose of our committee's terms of reference, and that's looking at and providing advice on professional indemnity insurance. I think one of the biggest critical issues we face right now is the hardening of the PI insurance market. And I'll just give you an example from an Australian small business member of ours who reported that their premium has gone from $60,000 Australian dollars to $250,000 Australian dollars in the space of 12 months. So this is a critical issue and something we'll be looking at very closely. Thanks, Nelson.
Thanks very much, Nicola. Can I bring James Mwangi in on Integrity and Management Committee? James?
Thank you very much, Dr. Nelson, and hello, everybody. In terms of integrity, corruption has been there even before COVID-19. And perhaps the other challenge has been that FIDIC has developed excellent tools in the FIDIC integrity management systems. And the fact that the penetration of FIMS has probably not reached the level that has been desired. meaning that smaller firms, medium firms, perhaps have not been able to fully absorb these excellent tools that are useful in the fight against corruption. The larger firms also have had their experiences, some of them not very good, and there are lessons to come with it. And now, as we talk about COVID-19, it means that the amount of work available has reduced, yet firms need to survive. People still need to go on with their lives. They need to add an income. And therefore, as the work opportunities reduced, there is always temptation to go for acquisition of work through perhaps means that are not very ethical. And sometimes people may justify or feel like there is a justification, and of course there is not. So the challenge is to now make sure that these practices are embedded in the firms, they embrace it, and they are seen as adding value to this particular, to the firms that we have. So going forward, we are looking at seeing how do we penetrate, how do we make sure that the understanding levels are enhanced, and in that way there will be increased acceptance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, James. You know, I've got Stephen Juro. Is Stephen there? Are you able to join us from capacity building?
Yes. Thank you very much, Nelson. Hello to everybody. I'm Stéphane Giraud from France, Aegis Group. So I'm very pleased to chair this FIDIC capacity building. You hear me? Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
So, okay, thank you very much. So one of the main challenges for the consulting industries, I would say that if you take the example of a site, at site, what is important is that all the stakeholders at site, employers, contractor, and engineers are really applying the golden principles of FIDIC, and the capacity building committee through all the task group shall be in a position to respond to these needs through training. So we need more trainers, we need to train more people to enhance the capacities as well as the mechanism to resolve disputes and things like that. So all these challenges of enhancing capacity may be through more trainings, imagining the best practice, the best programs for training, and the best credentialing program. So we are trying with 12 people to think about that and to help FIDIC to build this enhancing the capacities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Can I bring, I think I've got it right now, Cosme on the future leaders. Cosme, are you there?
Yeah, thank you, Nelson. Hello, everybody. I would like to tell you that inside the Future Leaders Committee, we have discussed these market challenges for the future. This is why we have provided some reports all over the world from our future leaders. And I would like to mention 3 challenges that I think that are quite important. First, it would be how we can change our client behaviors in these new times, when everything is adapting to digital transformation. And also connected to digital transformation, an important challenge would be for the future, the cybersecurity, how we are going to ensure the security of our information. And the third one would be, because now we are adapting to the new normal, we have to adapt also the smart technologies to continue transforming the cities, especially during these hard times. Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you very much, Cosme, from that. In membership committee, what do you see as the real challenges for our industry as we see more and more consolidation happening? What's your take, Ian?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the conference. I think from my side, what I'm seeing is we've had a very sudden change to a world that's essentially gone online, where we used to meet in person and we used to go to conferences and go to events in person. Now we're doing all of these sort of things online. So that's opening up new opportunities in the way that we can work. And really from the perspective of the membership committee, it's really a question for us how we can offer real value for money to all of our members in this situation. And that goes to the balance of how we fund FIDIC, but it's also how we offer real value to the members and also the nature of the members. And that essentially comes down to the balance of the member associations and the affiliate members, and perhaps even also the direct members. So lots of things to look at, and a very challenging situation for us, but I think also opening up enormous opportunities.
Okay, thanks very much, Ian, for that. Can I bring in, I think he's, if I've got it right now, Manish from United States. Manish, are you there, ready to go, fully awake?
Yes, I am fully awake, I think. Good morning to everybody. Thank you, Nelson. And I would like, being the first committee, the first time this committee is formed, I would like to take a few seconds to thank Bill, Nelson, the board, and especially Aisha for their leadership and vision to form this committee. I think it's an excellent, fantastic group, and what we see as challenges from our committee perspective is to integrate what all the other committee chairs have listed as their challenges. But my two excellent vice chairs are correcting me all the time, are saying these challenges are the very opportunities where we can, as an IFI committee, form a partnership with purpose with our donor banks, multilateral donor banks, and probably expand it to other agencies. The use of FIDIC contracts is the fundamental, one of the main core focus or challenge that we see, as well as to bring the best practices to cover all the things, covering resilience, cybersecurities, and everything that our member organizations face, and to use it in a way that we feel that it's a regionally active, as well as becoming a thought leader and a trustful advisor to this multilateral donor banks. Thank you, Nelson.
Thanks very much, Manish. Can I bring Tracy in from New Zealand? Tracy, I deliberately kept you towards the end because everything that Bill's talked about is about sustainability, developing goals, and all the challenges that we see. And Bill keeps reminding me, we had the issue with sustainability before COVID. We will have issue with sustainability after COVID. So what's your take, Tracy?
Yeah, thanks, Nelson. Tēnā koutou katoa. Hi good evening from New Zealand. Look, like many of my fellow chairs have said, the issues around COVID, for us, it's really around the significant recovery and economic rebuild, which is going to happen, and the scale of investment that we're making and the legacy of this for future generations means it's critical that we take the opportunity to significantly accelerate the decarbonisation of our economies, and not only that, the challenge is to continue to create jobs, and also address many challenges, like critical challenges like moving to a circular economy, having an equitable and sustainable society and rebuild. So I think with that, we've talked about the challenges turning into more opportunities, and how do we kind of transition opportunities that will reduce emissions, build resilience, and then find solutions to really deliver a prosperous economy. So that's kind of a big part of our committee will ultimately overlap with many of the other committees, particularly around the procurement and contract side, particularly around the funding side, but also for us as engineers and as trusted advisors, how do we look to really our sort of sustainability and design, bring in innovation, bring in the digital and technology into all those sort of solutions. So that's going to be a big part and focus for us going forward.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Yeah, thank you, Tracy. Adam, I know that I've just had Cosmin speaking. I'm going to move on to the second question, Adam. And I know you are involved with so many things. How do you think our MAs are responding to this? I mean, are they coping very well? What are the challenges for them, the MAs and the firms?
Thank you, Nelson. Hi, everybody attending this conference. Adam Białowski from Poland. I'm the vice chair of the Future Leaders Committee and the member of the Contracts Committee. So to address Nelson's question, I think there is a troubles due to COVID about value for money for their members. The member associations need to quickly adjust because a lot of the training and the things and conferences that happened face-to-face and networking that was available by participating in a member association have been, let's say, suspended right now. So I think getting into online learning, these webinars as FIDIC has done, increasing membership engagement through conferences like this one. I think that's where the member associations should try to find their value and try to find the value for our industry. So newsletters, social media, again, engaging young professionals, future leaders in volunteer work that can be decrease the load of work for member associations, I think is also a way to go. So these are just some of the bullet points I noted out. I know there's a lot of speakers, so thank you, Nelson, for the opportunity to answer this question.
Thanks very much. Natalie, I know you're based in Australia, and I've had Nicholas talking about, contract issue. How do you think our MA, I suspect this question should be going across to Nicola, but I'm putting it to you. How do you think our MA and our firms are responding to the issues?
Look, in terms of the sustainability piece, I think the important thing for the member associations and the firms is to try and make sure that it's not viewed as something different that we have to do. Sustainability really needs to be something that's embedded in everything that we do. So it's really about flipping that dial and not having it as a separate train of thought. We kind of need the member firms to be making sure that they're talking about sustainability all the time, sustainable development. It's part of the language. The sustainable development goals become part of the things that we talk about and all the things that we're doing to head towards achieving those. So, I think from our committee's point of view, we've talked that we're really keen to engage and draw on the amazing knowledge and network of wealth of information that exists in the member firms. So we'll be keen to, draw on some of that information that exists and help develop a body of knowledge and some great information that we can get out there also to the member firms.
Thanks very much, Natalie. Kitty, I know that I've just had Manish speaking about the opportunity of a partnership with purpose, but let's put the hat on as if you are acting on behalf of our member association and the company and the industry. How are we responding to the challenges at the moment as an industry? Kitty?
As an industry, we are more on the international financial institution, which I think is one of their goal is sustainability, has been and it will be with the COVID even more. So the challenge here is for FIDIC is to introduce themselves as much as possible in all IFI and help them to continue this sustainability goal. Is one of the main objects with the environment and communication. And I think we are in the fourth revolution, industrial revolution. And I think this is the only good part of COVID that forced us to arrive quickly to this virtual communication and be a bit more strict and probably we can reach deeper the market in this way, and then we can really help them to develop this.
Okay, thanks very much, Kitty. Ini, can I come to you? I know we've just talked, Ian talked about the challenges, but I'm now looking at it from member firm point of view, and I do know that you are the managing director of MOX. Can you tell me how is the company responding to this? And in that particular parts of the world, and perhaps how is the MA in Kenya responding to the challenges at the moment?
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I think it's already mentioned by Ian that with the situation COVID-19, we as a FIDIC MA or as a member firms should think about how that we use the digital technology. So then the important also is how that we collaborate with the other partners in terms of to develop, to implement, and also to enrich the capability in terms of the technology. So I think the MA is already have a good chance to how they want to move forward to use the technology. So, and especially in the developing country, that we can also help them how to move forward to make the technology is being implemented in the developing countries.
Thank you very much, Ini. I understand people are raising their hands to put questions across to the panelists. Can I just echo the program? What we're going to do for the next half an hour is to give the panelists opportunity to address the issue. And in about 12:30 Central European Time, which is half an hour's time, we will start to pick up questions from the floor and we put it to the panelists. So please be patient with us while we're trying to go through this before we start picking up the question. So thank you. We've looked at issue on the risk and liability side of it, and I just wonder, from the association, do you have any thoughts about the challenges the MA are facing? That question is pretty tough. Is Joe here? Is it Martin? Hold on, have I got it right? The Vice Chair of Capacity of Risk and Liability Group. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here, Nelson.
Can you hear me, please? I know you are the expert in equality. I'm asking the question: How do you feel our members and the association are dealing with all the challenges, and the firms?
Well, from what I saw over the last few years as a more corresponding kind of member of the RLC, I had the impression that the issues of risk strategy are addressing the corporate side of consultancies. And from my background as an engineer in underground structures, I see that perhaps we should highlight more the insurance for individual projects. And this can be influenced by fair risk sharing, risk allocation, by partnering concepts, and by quality management plans for individual specific projects. So I first need to find out, perhaps with the member association and the different regional groups, how important they rank project-specific insurances and project-specific quality management, rather than addressing the top management level of organizations only. So it would be more a step forward to project managers rather than the board of directors.
Okay, so I'm going to move to the third question now. I hope I haven't misled anybody in the introduction, but I think what I said is question 1 goes to the chair, question goes to vice chair, and I suspect, it would be wise, since I have full house of the board members, to put some of the question on question 3 to the board members. So can I tackle with Tony Barry? Are we responding as FIDIC? Are we doing enough? Are we doing enough, FIDIC? Tony, what's your take?
The answer is there's a huge amount to do, Nelson. From my perspective, we are starting to get momentum into the things we're doing, and we're starting to get a lot of alignment and streamlining on the simple things to make the place more efficient. And I do think as we move forward, it's pretty important that we continue that efficiency drive and we continue that alignment. It's already been mentioned there by Tracy that there've been interaction and overlap in some ways across the committees. But working together, we should be able to lift the game very considerably. And I think the other critical issue is to engage our MAs. We've got so many MAs that have wonderful training programs, they've got wonderful resources at their fingertips, and we need to, as FIDIC, work out a way to facilitate sharing of those, obviously, possibly with some commercial outcome for the MAs as well in mind. But we would love to see, I guess, greater leverage on what already exists. And the quicker we can do that and the more effort we can put into that, I think we'll take a very great stride forward if we can make that happen.
Thank you very much, Tony. Put the same question across to Mark Pelin from Netherlands. Mark, what's your take? Are we doing enough as FIDIC?
Yes, I think we're doing a lot, Nelson. Thank you for raising the question. There are so many challenges, and I think it also has to do a bit with let's say thinking more globally and thinking big. We need to have that experience on the ground through all the firms and lifting that up to FIDIC, so we can set the scene and also make an agenda to enable firms and to create better circumstances for the firms. And it's key that close cooperation, as was mentioned as well by other panelists, alliances and cooperation and different ways of working together, I think is key. You cannot do it alone. And that's why FIDIC has an important role to play.
Thank you very much, Mark. You talk about alliancing. Aisha, I'm glad to know that we're able to, have your commitment and be on board. Aisha, your take on the subject? What else can we do? Are we doing enough?
Well, can you hear me? I'm having a little technology trouble. So not only you, Nelson, I don't have a video, but so are we doing enough? I would say that we're in a time of uncertainty and a time of change. So I think we're doing a lot. To answer is it enough? I think that will be answered in future. And that would be an answer for our stakeholders to answer. But I think from a board's perspective and from a secretariat's perspective, I think we took the bull by the horns. We've implemented change pre-COVID, and that innovation in delivery of service to our stakeholders has continued through COVID. And I'd like to applaud you, Nelson, in taking the initiative and going online, taking the risks, creating these COVID webinars, seminars to address issues that the MAs were having, our stakeholders were having, IFIs were having. So I think I can't say it's enough, but I can say you took the bull by the horns, and we kind of engaged in innovative ways and rose to the challenge that COVID presented in a collaborative framework. So we hope it's enough, but we'll continue doing the same as we go forward. So back to you, Nelson.
Yeah, thanks very much, Aisha, for that complimentary statement. We're not going to rest on our laurel. I think your point is we're making progress, but we're not there yet. And I thank you for making that recognition. It's very difficult sometimes whether you take the risk. But as somebody said to me, he said, Nelson, you have to have a leap of faith sometimes. You really have to try. And if you fail, at least try. But not trying at all is trouble. I think if I heard correctly, I'm going to go across now to Lu from China, again, late in the evening. Lu, do you think we're doing enough? Is there any room for improvement significantly from other parts, apart from the point Aisha talked about or what Mark talked about? Or Tony, are there any gaps, any room for improvement?
Of course, definitely. I think for this kind of question, it's better to answer by our stakeholders, by our MAs. As a board, I think we always need to continuously improve our, let's say, what we did, what we promote, what we create. So of course there is still have some gaps and some, let's say, more waiting for us to improve.
Thank you very much, Leo. I'm going to take the opportunity now, move on to the next fourth question, because I know there's a lot of people raising their hand, and I want to try and give them opportunity to speak. The next question is, how are we delivering locally? We think globally to deliver locally. I'm going to go back into some of our vice chairs now and see what their thoughts are in terms of what else can we do to make sure that our global aspiration, we bring it down into the local area. And my question is going to go to Ini. Are we taking our big picture and taking it into the local at the level where they can see the value proposition? Because sometimes the big question I hear from member association is, what is the value proposition? How do I persuade my member firm to understand the value of FIDIC when you are so remote? Are we doing enough to take our global agenda to the level where our members and the firm understand it? Ini, what's your take?
Yeah, thank you. I think that we need more.
We have sound problem, Ini. Is there any you can?
Yes. Yeah, I think in the future that we have to improve our communication with the member associations to understand about what is the benefit of joining the FIDICs, about the FIDIC activities. So then we need to communicate with them intensively. And if necessary, we have a special workshop internationally, and then we can move forward to the regional workshop, and then go down to the local workshop with the local language, because some of the countries may cannot speak in English. So I think that we have to go there in order the FIDIC MAs to understand well about the FIDIC benefits, and then they can elaborate, and then they can proactive to work with us, because we member association is our family. Without member association, maybe no FIDIC. This is my opinion. So I hope that in the future we have to be more proactive, and also collaboration, not only with the member association, but also collaboration among our committees. So then we can make the summary of the benefits of all the committees, what the idea of the committees with any updates. And then from all the updates, then we can share to the member association. So then the member association will feel that, oh, FIDIC is our home. So then they can start to be proactive to join with us.
Okay, thanks very much, Ini. Can I go to Javier? Javier, Spain. I believe you are based in Spain. Javier, what's your take? Do you think we're doing enough in taking our global message across into the region and across into the local area where member firm will get the benefit? Ini said we need to improve our communication and deepen our engagement. What do you think we should be doing to improve?
Thank you, Nelson. Yes, I'm based in Spain. I act as vice chair of the capacity building. I mean, one of the first things that we have to do is to recognize the different regional needs and the different regional particularities. Then is the only way that we can get to create a strong FIDIC community, understanding what we have in common, but also understanding the particularities of every region. That's why in the capacity building committee, now that we have the task to design the capacity building structure in order to enhance the capacity building of all the FIDIC community, one of the first tasks that we have on mind is really map the different skill sets that might be required in the different regions and by the different stakeholders in a project in order to be able to provide something that can be useful not only for some particular regions, but in order to be delivered globally. Thank you, Nelson.
Okay, thanks very much. John, I know that I woke you up this morning about 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in Canada. Your take, I mean, you've been within the FIDIC family for quite a long time, and I'm really glad that you're able to continue your capacity on the integrity side. And you've been through the process. Do you think we need to significantly improve our take in getting our message down to the member firm and the member association? John Ritchie?
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Nelson. The Integrity Management Committee is not very satisfied with the uptake of integrity management, particularly in small and medium firms. And so we want to change our focus a little bit. In addition to considering integrity management as a risk management measure, we want to promote it as a means of improving an overall strategic planning process for a firm, to elevate the firm through an integration of integrity into to become a trusted advisor. In other words, you improve your business, you make more money as a trusted advisor, and therefore you see integrity management as a positive contribution to your company rather than just an overhead expense. So we see an opportunity, we think, to support member associations in improving strategic planning processes for member firms. We think we can provide background materials to help them with that task. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Christina, can I bring you on board? I know you are new kid on the block in terms of international financial institution activity, but you have very strong connection in the business development side. Do you think we need to do more in getting our message across to our local MA and to ultimately to our member firm? Christine?
Yes, thank you, Nelson. Thank you for bringing me in. Well, it is true that it's a very difficult time for all of us, and the times that we're living are difficult. I mean, here in Spain, we're gonna have to face a very difficult crisis now, and that combined with all the efforts that we have to do to improve the investment in infrastructure to keep up with our engineering consultancy sector, which is very big here in the country. But I think that, I mean, you mentioned at the very beginning how many applicants did you have had for the committees, and that gives you a very big view on how spread around is FIDIC and how big is the outreach that you have. Being in the IFI committee, we're just going to increase that because IFIs are very key for the investments in infrastructure and for all the companies that work internationally. So I wish I could say more because I'm the new kid on the block, and I still need to learn a lot about how FIDIC is working and how much we can do. But I think in general, I mean, my answer is that we are doing enough, but you can always do more. So that's my view. Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you very much, Christina. I mean, I'm going to break the rule now because I'm mindful that I haven't brought Sawano into my conversation. And then I know Sawano is very passionate about the regional agenda. So Sawano, do you think we could do more as an organization in getting our message across? I mean, Ini talks about what we could do. I just thought, you know, taking your bigger picture, what else do you think we ought to be looking at in getting our message across to our member firm across different regions and different countries? Sawano?
Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy that can meet all of you because as a secondary license for CC, IMC, and DNI, I find that there is some important things that we should do, that FIDIC should do, from hearing from all of you. That first, I think we will start, and actually it started already in the IMC committee and the CC. We have started already that we collect the information from the member association, and then we can finally we use our global knowledge, for example, in the contract committee and the IMC, we use the global knowledge, and then we take the input from the MAs, so we can then will act locally. We should assist them because we try to give attention to the demands more now, because from the supply side, we have everything already in FIDIC. Very sophisticated reports and sophisticated documents. Now we need to start to disseminate to the member association and in the regional groups about this one. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sawano. I'm going to bring Fatma in. Fatma, I know if I ask Andrew about, you know, business practice committee, he tells me, he said, you know, Fatma and others are the real engine. And I do remember last year in Mexico, when I did ask my good friend, John Gamble, to chair this particular session, John said to me, he said, Nelson, he said, really, if you think about it, as FIDIC, as a sort of an enterprise, he said, you know, the secretariat at the front end and the marketing. And he said, more important, the committees are the engine room, the production line. Now, after that committee comment, I went away and I asked myself, if I go through the volume of email that I receive from committees, Fatma, yours is the biggest one that comes through my system. Question from my point of view, as much as we're trying to get the message across, are we doing enough? Do you think your local people in Turkey, do they think they're getting the true value? And if we are not, what else can we do? Fatma, can you unmute, please?
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nelson. Hello, everybody. When it comes to FIDIC's works, there's a very large group of volunteers, of course, just taking account of the challenges. And I have been watching this since 1992. And the group is growing and growing every year, as you say. So therefore, I think FIDIC is doing very well. When it comes to the MAs and the member firms of the MAs, they can do a lot more because especially in my country, we have problems with the client, especially the public clients from the public offices. So therefore, we are in need of client education. So member associations can do this. And also the members of the member associations, they can continuously inform the clients and the industry about the new products of FIDIC, like policies, other publications, seminars, and conferences. So therefore, FIDIC is doing its best, in my opinion, but the MAs and the member firms can do a lot, much better, I can say this, to promote FIDIC, and not to promote FIDIC, but to transfer its teachings to the world. So it is very necessary that the MAs and the members must work much harder. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope I haven't missed anybody out in my conversation. I'm trying the best I can to make sure I cover everybody. I'm going to go into the last question before we open the floor. And again, I'm going to do exactly the same as I started, which is start perhaps, with Andrew. What are the 2 or 3 things that are really on top of your agenda now from Business Practice Committee? Andrew?
Thank you, Nelson. We have many things that we could and probably should be focusing on. The hard part is to choose what are the most important ones that we think will benefit member associations and member firms around the world. So one of the first ones we would like to look at is some of the learnings that we've had out of the pandemic that we're in. What are some of the challenges and opportunities, and see if we can pull something together reasonably quickly. We don't have a particular plan for what will be in that, but let's find out from around the world what's working. We are carrying on with some of our projects that are nearly complete, looking at how we use technology, BIM, QCBS in terms of procurement protocols, and maybe even looking at a different model for how engineering services are procured, focusing on value rather than on the time it takes us to do something. Recognizing at the end of the day that technology is creating opportunities for us as businesses, but for us to really leverage on what we do, it's the people that are most important. So quick heads up there. Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you. Learning from the past, completing the existing program, and look at the new business model. Not a lot, but actually it's quite enough there. Stefan, can I bring you in on capacity building? Your 2 or 3 point agenda moving forward. Stefan? Can you unmute, please?
Yes, now you shall hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
So the main topics we'll be focusing on with the committee would be first, as Javier said, we will try to map, to have a sort of the needs mapping of what really the MA and the users would need in terms of capacity building, training, the path to become adjudicator, all these things. We want to know where people are, what do they need at site. And secondly, the main task would be to help the FCL mechanisms, FCL programming, and we'll try to build what would be the best path and how to become a trainer, trainees, and adjudicators. And then we'll have some people working on how to communicate to be sure that everybody's understanding the FBook, FIDIC Book of Knowledge, to be sure that we are storing, sorting, and displaying the right things at the right place through the websites and things. And last, through communication, as you said, important point. And we'll try to participate in the website construction and also to be sure that we communicate well with all other committees.
Okay, thank you very much, Stephanie. Husni, since you are stepping in for Vincent, what are the 2-3 agenda you have for 2020-2021?
Thank you, Nelson. I get to speak twice, so lucky me. We will continue, of course, our original agenda. We have several publications due to be published toward the end of this year and early next year. We have the second edition of the Green Book. We have the FIDIC Contracts Guide on the 2017 editions. Possibly the golden principles on the forms of agreements for consultancy work. Also, I can safely claim that we were among the pioneers of releasing a guidance memorandum on how to deal with COVID-19 from a contractual point of view back in April. It was a guidance memorandum prepared on an international level, not for a specific country. We are continuing to monitor the current situation globally so that if it requires any updates, we will do so. And currently we are in the process of preparing a similar guidance memorandum with regards to consultancy forms of agreements. Also, we have several other works in the pipeline, but these are the major highlights. Thank you so much, Nelson.
Thank you very much. Husni, do I take it that we are looking to get the 2017 guidebook ready during the next year?
Hopefully our target is to get it ready by end of this year, but worst case scenario, first quarter of 2021, but our target is we will fight, we will give it our best to get it out by the end of this year.
Right, thank you very much. James, your thoughts, I know you are straight into it and you've itemized few points earlier on. What are the 2-3 things that you see as top priority for the IMC? James?
Thank you very much, Nelson. One of the interesting statistics is the fact that small and medium-sized farms make up somewhere in the order of 75% of the membership of FIDIC, and the larger farms 25%. The key thing is that the larger farms tend to have capacity to put in compliance system or integrity management system, but the smaller farms do not ordinarily have that. So we need to focus a bit more on the small and medium-sized farm, look at developing things like flow charts for them, which they can cascade to their employees, etc., so that they can appreciate the FIDIC integrity management systems, developing PowerPoint presentations for the MAs, again, to help cascade down integrity. And in so doing, perhaps improve the level of integrity systems within the farms, and that way fight corruption or fight the temptation to be involved in corruption. The other thing is working with the contracts committee to look at the wordings, how that can be enriched to embed anti-corruption measures. And somewhere along the line, look at sharing some lessons. Those who have burned their fingers or feet in integrity-related challenges, taking that, because I think those kind of ideas really send the message home. And somewhere along the line, see whether we can get a way to get feedback from the firms and the MAs as to how FIMS is helping them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. Very quickly, I'm mindful of the time. I want to try and keep the time. I'm going to go across to Ian very quickly. 1 or 2 key points for you.
Yes. Hello, everyone again. I mean, from our side, our continuing work is very much to retain our existing members, attract new members, and to provide real value for money. So that's really the core of what we need to do. In terms of initiatives to get that done, we certainly want to engage very, very much more closely with all of our members. The members are our clients, and they're the members of the Federation ultimately. So We really want to get into conversation with all of our members to really understand what their needs are. I think beyond that, we also need to look at expanding perhaps the corporate or affiliate members. It's a much wider family of people who are interested in FIDIC and people who are part of this wider construction industry who would benefit, I think, from being closer to FIDIC and would be interested in becoming members. So we need to harness that potential. I think there's also, beyond that, there's also already direct membership for the adjudicators. And there are certainly thoughts that perhaps the FIDIC trainers and perhaps even the dispute board members could also have the opportunity to join FIDIC as direct members. So lots of thinking around how the membership balance could change to ultimately to attract more members and also to offer opportunities for people and organizations to become members. But I think also beyond all of that, one of the things we need to look at really closely is how we understand the world around us. It has enormous regional differences. And I think the needs of the members in different parts of the world, in different cultures, with different technologies, different access to IT and so on, have very, very different needs. And it's how we address these needs on a regional basis in the most professional way, in the most helpful way that really answers that ultimate question. How do we really provide that value for money to each and all our members around the world and make this essentially the premier organization to be part of and to engage with? So that's what we want to try and do. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ian. We're going to try and keep it as brief. I believe questions are coming through the system. I want to try and take some time there. Nicola, you've mentioned that in passing. Summary, what are the key points of the challenge for you guys moving forward? Priorities?
So priorities for the Risk, Liability and Quality Committee, we've been given our revised terms of reference from the board in terms of the revision of the committee, and we've been given some very clear priorities that we need to set to work on. The first being the first I'll mention is updating the FIDIC body of knowledge with latest trends in risk and liability management across the industry. Develop and publish FIDIC guidance documents for us all on managing the more onerous liabilities in consultancy agreements. And also the third one, I'll just quickly mention, there are others, is preparing an annual comparative study of professional liability and insurance report for, of course, FIDIC members and the industry. So I'm very keen, and as a committee, I think it's really important that while we're developing those guidelines, that we also set up a range of forums that we can get online together, and we can talk about these issues as a community and really understand very closely what your concerns are, particularly, as I mentioned earlier, around the hardening of the professional indemnity insurance market, which of course is so vital to so many. I'll leave it there in the interest of time. Nelson, thanks.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Cosme, and I'm going to play the game here because you are stepping down, but at the same time, I've got Adam stepping in. What is the transition program in terms of what you see as the 2-3 priority for the future leaders? Cosme.
Thank you, Nelson. Yeah, indeed, my mandate is going to the end after the GAM this year. I can tell you that the transition is going to be quite smooth, and I'm 100% sure that the future leaders are on good hands. We are going to keep also working on the activities that we had during these 2 years during my mandate. And I mean working in different task groups for different committees, having the call for papers for our e-booklet, having the symposium, the Future Leaders Symposium, being present in different conferences and webinars, and trying to promote as much as possible the FIDIC work. I don't know if Adam can say just a little bit some words for the future, because he's going to be the next one.
Adam, any different departure from your immediate person? Adam?
Yeah, we have 31 subcommittees, so we have quite a lot to do on our hands and a lot of ambitious plans, but in the sake of time, I think I'll pass. Thank you. Social media, webinars, and so on. So we have our full support.
Okay. Thank you very much, Adam. So what you're saying, we're just building on what Cosmin has done, and it's business as usual. 31 subcommittees, that's a huge number. Tracy, can I bring you in? Tracy, what are your 2-3 priority moving forward?
Thanks, Nelson. Yeah, look at sustainability and climate change. You know, they're some of the most important issues facing our planet, and therefore it really needs to be looked at by a number of lenses and by a diverse group of people from around the world. And I'm very fortunate that the committee is really made up of a very diverse group of people from around the world. And I think Natalie before kind of described, and similar to what Nicholas said, is that, you know, our aim is really to provide a very meaningful forum where we bring FIDIC's most eminent thought leaders, but also reaching back into our member affiliates to really be able to draw from that and to be able to kind of come and solve some of the big complex issues around adaptation, mitigation from climate change to the whole life cycle of infrastructure. And some of the other big priority focus areas for us as part of that is kind of water, natural resources, resilient, circular economy, and then also, I think lining into some of our other committees around social and sustainable procurement. But I suppose a big part of that is how do we ensure that we're aligning towards the sustainable development goals. And also we're kind of keen to have a stronger voice, particularly in partnerships with the World Sustainable Business Council, UN Habitat, and then the UNFCCC, and building up to COP26 next year. You know, so what are we going to do to kind of try and really influence and implement change in our industry? So lots to tackle. We've only really got together really for the first time just as a meet and greet, so we certainly have a lot to do, but very passionate and keen around bringing that forward. So yeah.
Good, Tracy, thank you very much for that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of work to be done in future in that particular grouping. Michelle, you've given us some headline earlier on. Any more to add on the big agenda for diversity and inclusion?
Yes. So you would know, Nelson, that last year we did a huge amount of research that culminated to the report for the board and for FIDIC and how to improve diversity and inclusivity in the board and within FIDIC. So the next step is to unpack all the goodies we found in our research into research papers and webinars. But also, James would be happy to know we are currently running our small company survey. We want to redo our previous diversity and inclusivity survey to show how through the years the results have changed. And also we are currently, through the help of Mandana, doing interviews with diversity champions in our industry. And ultimately we want to ensure that we have more communication, and thank you to the Secretariat that will help us with that, to provide the information that we are generating as a committee and push that through to our member associations and the companies they represent. Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you very much for that. Manish?
Nelson, we feel that focusing and promoting FIDIC as a trusted advisor, not only to IFIs, but to our partners in this infrastructure space, the contractors, MAs, consulting engineers, etc., covering the entire spectrum of what FIDIC has to offer that we heard from all the different committees, contracts, SDGs, inclusion and diversity, best practices. I think that is what we, as a committee, feel we're going to focus our activities. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Manish. We are really pressing on time. I understand there's a lot of questions from the floor. Angie, are there burning questions that we want to pick forward across to the panelists, or do I just take them as they come through? Andy?
Just take them through. I've just given you them, Nelson, in a list, so just take them as I've sent them.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a question from, I think it's Mohammed Musa, which is a very long question, really, if I have to pick it up. Just going through there, if I get this right. There's a long question for Q&A parts. A question from Anil, question from Mohammed. I don't seem to pick it up. It is okay. 5 question from agenda. Andy, I don't see the original question. Are you able to sort of paraphrase the question to the panelists for me? Andy?
Yeah, what I said, Mohammed's got his hand up, so you need to call Mohammed in. That's the situation there. Mohammed needs to be called in.
Barbara, can we call Mohammed to raise his question, please? I thought it was on the chat room. We're getting used to technology. Barbara,
Mohammed, please go ahead. You can speak. We can hear
yes,
you.
I am speaking Muhammad Mazhar from Pakistan.
Thank you,
actually, yeah. And Dr. Nelson, you might recall a few years back, I have met with Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, in a FIDIC conference when I presented my theme that reasonable cost for sustainable construction. On this issue of best business practices, I have shared your issues and my proposed solution in one-page bullet points. And I don't have time to read those things. Only I raised two issues that in Southeast Asia, it is neglected by FIDIC. Although from 1997, I am traveling under FIDIC aspect in whole Southeast Asian region, but they have given little attention to this region. And in this region, the things of advice and guidelines does not work. In this region, what is work that government notification to enforce any regulations or the document. And we have implemented that from since 2002 and again re-notified in 2008. And again, the updated document is under process of notification based on FIDIC MDBs 2010. Because there is an issue in Pakistan because billions and trillions of dollars are being used for the construction sector. And all the donor agencies working in Pakistan, they want that they will work in their own line. We have agreed with them that if we can pursue the FIDIC, that like the MDB's construction contract documents, they will update also another MDBs like the 2017 FIDIC edition, then we can adopt it and we can pursue our government to notify again, federal government. Okay. And as far as the consultancy is concerned, because consultants play the key role to use the FIDIC documents, make the project specific bidding documents, and then award the contract. So therefore, the thing is that request for proposal document, which you can tell bidding document also, should also be harmonized and like an MDB's document. This is my submission. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just seeing your comment here whereby you said you send me an email. I will have a look at that email. And it's a pleasure to hear your voice again that we met a few years back in Jakarta. It shows my age and I've been around for quite a while. I'm trying to bring that to context. I will bring two people in particular to try and see whether we can address that. Andrew, from the point of view of business practice, I know there's a lot going on from the particular document being presented. And perhaps, bring Manish in to see whether there's any response coming from the Andrew, then Manish. Andrew first.
Thank you, Nelson. Probably the easiest thing is once you receive the email, if you can flick it through to the committee, we can then read it through carefully and see how we can respond.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Manish?
Thank you, Nelson. I mean, Mr. Mansoor, you raised valid points, and these are concerns that's globally faced. But I second what Andrew said. I mean, it was so, I couldn't keep notes enough for your question. So if Nelson can forward it to us, we as a committee can respond back to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks very much for follow-up. That is a question from Anil Iyer, and this is targeted towards James Mwangi. I will try and read it as much as I can. And it says, you've spoken about the challenge of embedding ethical values in organizations of all sizes. Given that fraud and corruption cost an average of 10% of loss to a typical infrastructure organization, could FIDIC do more to make all staff within an organization to be trained to actively look out for incident of fraud and corruption? And the list goes on. So I'll try and paraphrase it. James, what's your response to that?
Thank you very much. And I like the question, and thank you very much, Mr. Ali. It therefore just shows the need for us to make sure that the FIDIC integrity management systems are cascaded all the way down. Remember that FIDIC FIMS 1 talks on policies and the principles, and then we have FIDIC FIMS 2, which talks about the procedures, and then we go to FIMS 3 that now takes into account the integrity management system, aligning it with ISO 37001, which is the ISO that looks at anti-bribery management, etc. Those tools, once they're embraced by the firms, will take care of the potential incidences of corruption, etc. Embedded in them are tools and structures that go with the way, all the way down up to the employees. So that is part of what we are looking at doing in the next 2 years. And I hope that somewhere along the line, you will see progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I understand there's a gentleman called Ali Jabba trying to raise his hand. Barbara, are we able to bring Ali Jabba on? Or has he gone? Okay, no question coming through. I can't see. Any news from Ali Jabba? Are we able to bring him on board?
No, he put his hand down, Nelson. I did notify you that there's no question from Ali.
Okay, fine. Let me pick up a question that I think may probably open question. This is my view, and this is the perception, and you can challenge me, that the FIDIC committee historically tend to be operating in silo. And one of the things we're trying to do through the board, going through the terms of reference and define clearly the roles and the objectives of each and every committee, is to understand that, you know, we have priorities, but at the same time, the question I really want to put across is, how can we improve the interconnectivity between the committees to make sure that the committee's activity are well woven? I hear earlier on reference being made by Michelle to James. I hear earlier on reference being made by, you know, Husni across in terms of what is going on in other departments. And I'm trying to change the dynamics of FIDIC in such a way that we can crisscross, but actually we are external focused and we are output driven. Can we have any comment at all about how we can improve communication between the group and to make sure that where there are activities going on, others are fully aware of it? Who wants to help me out on that? I have some ideas, but I want feedback from the committees. How can we improve that? Nicola, you are looking at risk and risk cut across the business. What's your take on that? Should we be having more of this chair and the vice chair meeting so that we can do a brain dump and come back into our section? Or do we continue business as usual? What's your take, Nicola?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Nelson. Our committee in particular, we have a lot of reason to have strong engagement with the other committees. Everything we've talked about tonight, whether it's diversity, working remotely from home, if it's corruption, all of these issues touch on risk and liability for business. So it is really, really important that we work hard to understand what's happening in the committees, what the priorities are that everybody's working on, and therefore we can feed in and share best practice. And I can see us working and producing more sort of joint committee pieces of work. And I think, again, the technology we now have like this to be able to come together much more easily is the way forward to do that.
Okay, any other thought on how we can improve on that? I don't want FIDIC to be in silo. Any other thoughts, any suggestions?
Hey, Nelson,
Bill?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts on it, just one general one. A couple of years ago, when we started to struggle with, we knew there was a problem with committees, with tying the terms of reference and synchronization and that sort of thing. And we thought of forming a committee of chairs. That might be something to consider. It has the advantage of getting people communicating. It's got the disadvantage of more time requirements on people who are already incredibly busy. But listening into this session in the last hour or so, there is a need. There's unquestionably, we have the terms of reference reasonably synchronized, but it would be tremendously valuable if all of the chairs knew a little bit more about what they were doing. So I recognize the need. We just need to figure out how to do it without driving people, crazy with how much we're asking them to do. So.
Thanks very much, Bill.
Yeah.
Point well taken. The other question that was going through my mind is that, again, this is really coming back from me running an association for so many years and people asking me the value proposition. You, as a committee of FIDIC, you meet and you produce fantastic document, fantastic publication. And the question that I hear from Ini earlier on is, we need to find a way to distill that information down. One of my propositions is, if you're having 4 meetings in a year or 5 meetings in a year, can we have an annual event whereby one of the committee have one session on webinar open up to the rest of the world so that you can update them what you are doing? Is that too much to ask for? Ini, is that something that we should be considering? Ini, are you able to unmute?
Sorry. Yes, I agree. Absolutely, I agree with this idea. And I think the FIDIC also developed the SharePoint platform where that we can work together for all of the committees. And like my company, we also have like a Yammer. So then we can have a chat among the committees, what's going on and what's the updates from the committee. So then we know the situation, and then we can wrap up all the summary of the ideas from all the committees, and then we can share to the member association. So the member association will get new updates every time. So they feel that this is the value for money that they paid for the membership fee.
Thank you very much. At this point, I've just been told that we've got about 6 minutes before we wrap up. So I'm just going to try and do my usual stuff. If you've been through one of our webinars before, I'm going to call upon the board members who've been listening. And thank you for your time, for being patient, because I've only given you an opportunity to say a few words once. So I'm going to call upon you now to wrap up. You've heard your chairs and your vice chairs, and they've expressed, their priorities going forward. And I'm going to call upon you on what would be the advice to them in trying to move the agenda forward that you've set them. So Tony, you are the engineer. I wouldn't say the architect, but I'll call it the engineer of the terms of reference. So Tony, if I put you on the hotspot, what is your one advice to all the committees in moving forward to make sure that they're outward facing, they're output driven, and that we're all not operating in silo? Tony, what's your comment?
Well, a couple of comments. It won't be one simple thing, I'm afraid, but the first thing I think is reach out to the other committees. As a chair, I think bringing perspectives from the other committees into your work is a very important and useful thing to do. So that's certainly one I would encourage. I would also strongly suggest we bite off pieces of work that we can achieve, complete, and publish quickly. I think there's great merit in building momentum in what you're doing. And if you spend 2 years preparing a document, and I understand the Contracts Committee is in a slightly different place to many others in this, it's a big task and a big ask, and it's very easy to lose momentum and to get bogged down. I think in this day and age of social media and communications, the more concise communications, the more quickly we can get out to our MAs, to our stakeholders and the community more widely, the better. I think I'd leave it at that, Nelson.
Thank you very much, Tony. Aisha, your advice to the committees across the board? Do we still have Aisha online? I think she's escaped. So Lou, what would be your advice to the committees?
What I suggest is, as you know, for the FIDIC body of knowledge is mainly contributed by our working committees. And of course, for the working committees, we need to working together, cross-working, to enhance the communications and share the knowledge, share the outputs, and jointly develop the body of knowledge. This is only what my suggestion.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sawano, what's your advice to the team? Sawano? while we're waiting for Sawano, Gavin, I can just see Gavin. I'm not sure whether you've just joined. What is your advice to the team, to their newly appointed chairs and vice chairs going forward?
Yeah, thanks, Nelson. You know, I've been on for quite some time. I did have some, bit like Aisha, an IT meltdown earlier on. It took me a while to sort it out, so I do apologise for that. But yeah, it's been fascinating listening to these discussions, and you know, congratulations to the committees with what they have planned for the coming year. But I would advise them to, whilst you have your programs set out, to react also, be flexible, and react to global issues that arise. And we've seen through COVID-19, the world is a changing place, and it moves very rapidly. So my advice to them would be, firstly, be prepared to react quickly. I reinforce Tony's point. It's audiences out there, decision makers, politicians, MAs want information coming from the committees quickly, want to know what the position is and where we stand. So collate your responses as quickly as you can. Obviously, they have to be clear and accurate, but don't dwell on it too long, because the issue's gone and other people have taken positions and we've lost any ground there. So react. Firstly, be flexible, react. Secondly, move quickly when you do get that. And thirdly, take a position. Don't toe the common line, actually take a position. We need to be out there and we need to be at the forefront of things. So we need to be sort of strong in our positions.
Thank you very much. We have finally got Sawano back. Quick one sentence advice to the chairs.
Okay, Nelson, may I share? Yeah, I think it is very good. The main things that we should do is actually to make good coordination among the committees. It is very good, as suggested by Anis. It's very good. I agree 100%, and I will support this one. And what, as Kevin said, we should make good relation with the government, because they were actually the decision makers. And in this case, FIDIC have the good name, so government we can support the MAs on develop the relation with the government, because FIDIC is a trusted organization. I believe using the FIDIC name, government will believe what they said, what the MA said. If MA directly without our support, so government will not trust them. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sawano. I'm going to go across to Mark. Advice to the team?
Yeah, just in short, a lot of good things have been said. I'm impressed by the interaction here in this session, Nelson, and we have best-in-class people in the committees, people that come from member firms, member associations, and are really also have their feet on the ground. So I think we have a lot to offer, and it's all about, and we need to do that together.
Sorry, is it me or is it Mark? Okay, I am being told that we need to try and wrap up now. Can I bring Bill in to just do the closing round? Bill?
Thank you very much, Nelson. I know we're basically running out. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, Bill.
Okay. First of all, thank you to everyone for their great participation. This is extraordinarily encouraging. We've got a lot of really talented people involved in our committee. Some of them have been around a while. A lot of them are new, and that is really terrific stuff. So it's very encouraging. And the level of dialogue is extremely encouraging as well. I think we heard a lot about the need to keep communicating with each other about who's up to what. One thing that we didn't hear a lot about, but I think it's implied in what all the committees are doing, is the need to advocate for FIDIC and emphasize the value that we add. We've heard that a few times, but I think it's something that the chairs and vice chairs should keep in the back of their mind at all times, is that how we can advocate the value that we add. And then one specific area that Nelson and I and the board have chatted about that we'll be talking with the future leaders and the Sustainable Development Committee about is moving forward our State of the World reports, which which we want to do in a different way, but it will be very consistent with FIDIC adding, being the global voice of the engineering community. And we want to deliver the message, basically, that the world's got a problem with climate change, sustainability, infrastructure investment, and the engineering communities are the best ones to help solve those problems. So with that, Nelson, back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. We are now on cue. We need to finish now. I see that Luis Navarrete just joined us from Spain. Thank you very much, Luis. Unfortunately, I couldn't give you much time. We are running out of time. Can I use this opportunity to thank everybody? Yes, you should be in Geneva now, but 2020 is going to become 2021, and I expect you all to join us over the next few days. Tomorrow we have the conference day 1, and then on Monday we have conference day 2, and there are other series of activities up until next week. So I want to say thank you to all of you, wherever you are, and thank you for being with us, and ask you to play safe. Thank you very much. God bless.